All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to Talking Investing. I'm Tom. I'm here with George. Hello, George.
Tom and I started talking and we forgot we didn't turn the show on.
We were doing the stream by ourselves there for a couple of minutes,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but that's all right. We're only 1 minute late, so not too bad for us. Hope everybody had a good day. This was a very unusual day. I got some charts, some unprecedented things that have never happened before. Not seemed like a pretty calm day in Bitcoin, a little bit of a red day in the Bitcoin miners. We got jobs report today. I want to talk about the impact and ask you guys. We got a lot of polls we're going to do today too because there's
I already got one going, brother.
got one going. Let's see what the existing poll is.
I finally figured out what to do to make money for the stream, Tom.
All right, what is it?
Trade stock as we talk.
Oh, you want to do live trades?
Yep, I'm
There's
about ready to do one right now.
oh
Won't even tell you guys what it is.
it wouldn't be you have done some live trades after hours typically.
I'm going to do 2 trades right now. I'm feeling them. I'm feeling them, guys. I'm feeling
You
them.
feel the need.
I've been out all day, by the way. I got out early this morning. Or no, yesterday. I got out like sometime yesterday. I don't know.
Got out of the market, you want back in. Oh, most important, if everybody could please smash the like button. It would be greatly appreciated. We have like an all-time record low number of people with us. I don't know if it's because we're only a minute in, so maybe we'll wait and see if some people show up. But if you smash the like button, that does help
Oh,
the
hang on
stream
one
out
second.
in real time. So it will be much appreciated. We want to spread the news here. George has temporarily left the building. 24 likes, 24 likes. We're going for 500 likes. We got 24. Who's with me? All right, boom, 34. We got just under 1,000 likes on a video this last week. That was our all-time record by far. So just take a moment to thank everybody for watching the videos, liking the videos. It helps the channel out a lot. Also, I see many members on the live stream. So hello to our members. Hello, Eric. Hello, Dr. Kurtz, Midway, Old Jock, Jay, Tishy, Scott, Cosmic, JJT, Sour Melon, Robert, CleanSpark to 100. If I missed you, sorry. Hello to everybody. And of course, hello to our subscribers. And if you are new here and you have not yet subscribed, we talk about Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners all the time on this channel. We also do a lot of deep dive videos on the Bitcoin miners. And so if you are new, consider subscribing. It is free, of course. All right. So right now, George is now in control of the polls. So he's got a poll up. Bitcoin's next move. Where does everybody think Bitcoin is going next? And right now we've got a very, very close race going on that. So, and we're going to look at the 1-day chart. This is Bitcoin on the 15-minute time frame. So I'll just reorient myself here. So Bitcoin on the 15-minute time frame. This is where, and actually I got this line off by 15 minutes, so I'll move it over just a little. This is where Bitcoin was when the US equity markets closed yesterday, Thursday. So Bitcoin was at just almost exactly at 43,000. According to this candle close, it was actually at $43,001.81. So it's been hovering around we are right now $20 away from that. Well, we're at 43,016 as I'm talking. So you can see we went kind of up and down along this line. Very sideways day. But unfortunately, even though it was sideways for Bitcoin, we did have a little bit of a pullback in the Bitcoin miners with a few exceptions. And one of those exceptions is a stock that has just been trading irrationally. And, Core Scientific just got back onto the market. As you guys know, we just came out of chapter 11 for Core Scientific. And It's a very confusing stock. There's a lot of different pieces to the puzzle. When they came out of Chapter 11, there was, you got stock, you got warrants, and the stock on the first day, by all appearances, if you looked at just the stock, it looked like it absolutely crashed, but that wasn't totally true because you got to take the warrants into account. Well, yesterday on reasonably low volume, Core Scientific was down somewhere around 10%. And now today, conversely, on reasonably low volume, Core Scientific was up 11.6%. So, they kind of washed each other out. I think people are really, this is one of the things I say about companies coming out of Chapter 11 when things like this happen. Sometimes it takes these stocks a while to find their footing because, particularly, this was one of the more confusing exits from Chapter 11 that I've seen. And I really think the market is struggling. I have stayed away from this stock. I said that all along. And I will tell you, in 2023, I stayed away from this and it ran up, 1,800%. So for those of you who made that trade, congratulations. I just want to take 1 second. CleanSpark to 100.
Just open the door. You just
CleanSpark to 100. Thank you very much for the super chat. That is much appreciated. CleanSpark to 100 said January report sold. Oh, this is CleanSpark's January report. Yes, we're definitely going to talk about this. So thanks for bringing it up. Sold 6 Bitcoin. So CleanSpark only sold 6 Bitcoin in the month of January. Their HODL is now 3,573.4. Oh, it's 3,573. They're going to bring 4.6 exahash online in mid-February. So they're just days away from bringing that online. They're at about 10 exahash right now. So, that's going to be almost a 50% increase in their exahash. Management is aligned with shareholders by adding a stock price performance incentive. All right, bullish. So CleanSpark to 100 is bullish. You can tell by the name. I happen to agree. Obviously, for those of you who watch the channel, that is one of my big positions is CleanSpark. So I'm very bullish. They added like 570 Bitcoin to their HODL position. We've been talking about this for a while. 4 or 5 months ago, they only had 500 Bitcoin in their HODL position. Almost all of 2023, they've been for about the last year hovering around that amount. And then they made a conscious decision. They wanted to start banking Bitcoin on their balance sheet. They're up to 3,500. I've been saying, I'm hopeful they get over 5,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet prior to the halving. I think it's going to be very difficult for the next at least 6 months, if not a year after the halving, for these companies to add substantial amounts to their HODL position. So I think, these months are golden. And the fact that they did say in that update, that 4.6 exahash is coming online imminently, like, within a week or so. So that's going to give them like 60 days at least to mine, pretty much, by the middle of February, the rest of February, all of March, a part of April. So I think, I think they stand a real shot of getting over 5,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. In a bit, I'll show you everybody's HODL position because that's that puts them in an elite area. There's really only 3 other companies that HODL Bitcoin of the publicly traded Bitcoin miners. The real Gary Ginsler, thanks for the super chat, said, on the sidelines, changed my mind, AMD, NVIDIA, Meta. Changed my mind. Well, listen, this was a great day for you today. I have a chart, and I actually took AMD off of the chart that I'll show you guys. There are 4 stocks today, and AMD was the 5th one. AMD had a phenomenal move today, but these other 4 were just so... I've never seen a day like today. Right. Should we go to that? I just want to quickly go to this. This,
Tom, the sky is falling.
The sky is falling?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it before you show the chart.
Here, these 4 companies, and again, the real Gary Ginsler. I actually had AMD on this chart. But once I saw the scale of what the other 4 did, AMD increased their market cap by close to $15 billion today, which ordinarily would be a wow. But these 4 companies increased their market cap today by and this is approximate, give or take. So, this is, it shows you going out here, but somewhere in the neighborhood of $468 billion of additional market cap today. I mean, that is I've never seen a day like today. You had not one, but two stocks. These two moves, a lot of people said, I saw a lot of articles today by various publications that said this move in Meta was the biggest move by market cap of any company in the history of the stock market. I'm not positive that's true. I have to look back because I have been logging in. There have been some spectacular, gigantic moves, but if it's not the biggest, it's among the biggest. But then look, Amazon. So Meta was up $206 billion today. Amazon was up $129 billion in the same day. By the way, ordinarily, NVIDIA was up $77 billion. That would be one of the great days in the history of the stock market. And Microsoft up 1.8%. That's $55 billion. So this is almost $500 billion concentrated into these four companies. This is what's happening. And a lot of the headlines, I want to get into a lot of different headlines were like, wow, the market, the jobs report really set the market on fire. Well, no, it didn't. These four companies are on fire. If we look at the heat map later, you'll see this was a very humdrum day for the stock market. It's just these four companies pulled everything. They're so enormous that both the S&P and the NASDAQ, are dominated by these stocks. So we'll get back to that later.
Was this the biggest money increase in one day in the stock market?
In the market, no. I mean, the market was, the market had a nice day. If we go look
No, you know what I'm saying? Like the most increased by dollars in one day.
Not even close. I mean, the S&P,
really? Okay.
The S&P was up 1%. The NASDAQ was up 1 point. And this is my point. The S&P up 1% and the NASDAQ up 1.7%. Those four stocks we just looked at account for the majority of this move. So that means the rest of the S&P 500's 500 stocks. Most of the rest of them were plus or minus of small moves in either direction. So, there's this giant narrative that the jobs report, if anything, I want to talk about the jobs report later because I think actually the jobs report, if not for Amazon and Facebook's earnings, I think today the market was going to tank. And we did have a giant shift in something, and this all revolves around rate cuts. So this jobs report is not. It's the opposite of what Jerome Powell was looking for. It's the opposite of what the market more specifically was looking for. And it's going to make his job harder. And we'll do a poll and see what we think is going to happen. But it's
poll
time.
Go ahead.
This strengthened the okay, let's do the poll. And then we'll look at what the futures are showing. So the poll, a simple one. Do you think there's going to be a rate cut in the March Fed meeting? While he's writing that poll, if you guys could do us a gigantic, huge favor and smash the like button. We're at 77 likes. We're shooting for 500 likes. So please help us out. It helps the stream in real time. And we got a lot to go to today. So much happened today and this week. And we did get several reports. Well, we got 5 or 6 or 7 reports from Bitcoin miners, but really 3 of them were monthly operational updates. So I want to go through what all the Bitcoin miners reported today. Some of them I find a little bit confusing. I'll tell you, we'll talk about some Hut 8. They put out a press release, I think, yesterday and today. And, they weren't, but it was not their monthly operational update. They had some updates on some other things. And while I think they're good things, they're revenue generating things, they're cash flow generating things, but I feel like we need some more information. I continue to feel like we don't have quite enough information from HUT 8 yet. So they're putting out press releases and starting to fill in pieces of the puzzle, but I'm looking for more. Waiting for more.
Hang on, I gotta place a big order on Bitcoin. I gotta put some pressure on it. Hang on, guys.
Are you actually making trades? Is that actually happening?
Yeah, that's what I already did. I already made my trades, yeah.
What, you want to let people know
I'm gonna
what
call
you
it
did?
the lucky stream. This is the lucky stream.
What'd you do?
I just bought a few of Marathon and a few of CleanSpark because they seem to move after hours.
So let's get.
But I needed to. I didn't realize that Bitcoin didn't have enough pressure on it, so I had to put some pressure on it. So I'm putting some pressure on it.
You're gonna move Bitcoin.
I'm moving Bitcoin,
to move
guys.
your marathon
right
position.
Now. No. I'm going directly and buying Bitcoin now.
Right, in an effort to put pressure on it so that your marathon position moves up.
Yes. Yes.
That's taking the scenic route, I would say.
I like it. A lot of trees out here, Tom. A lot of trees. Looking good.
Marathon was
Feeling
down 2% today. So I actually already did what George is doing. I dollar cost averaged into my marathon position today.
Oh, you did?
I did not do a lot of buying this week.
Oh,
but
there it goes down. Thanks, Tom. You're killing me.
Hey. I already did what I did. I don't want to, this is one of those scenarios, and I talk about this all the time.
I got it at 18.18, by the way.
You got it at 18.18? Yeah, I got it at
seemed like a good year.
17, very high 17s. It popped down to the low of the day was $17.84. I think I got it. I didn't get it. I didn't hit that. But I got pretty close. I got like 17, I think it was maybe $17.93 or something like that. So I pulled the trigger at that point and figured we'll see what happened from there. So, and I think there's a lot of volatility ahead. So that's the next poll I want to talk about, because I think between now and the halving, we're going to live in a world where they are yanking our chain one way and then the other way in an effort to just shake people out so that we miss the move. At the real Gary Ginsler, thank you for the super chat. And he asked, how all in is George? Update, por favor.
I won't. You know me, I can't share that, but I didn't go nuts. I didn't do any six-figure trades. Like, I didn't buy 6 figures worth of the stock, is what I'm saying. The trades were probably 6 figures. This is true. How is the bank collapse? Did you hear about that, Tom? With what's going on with the bank that bought Signature? Was it Signature? NYCP?
It's
CB?
it's all right. Stock is collapsing, but the bank has not yet collapsed. But that goes to a good point that this is the rock in a hard place that the Fed is going to find itself in right now, because unless they start lowering interest rates, some of these regional banks have a massive amount of pressure on them, and they were expecting and anticipating some rate cuts, and you would say, well, just 25 basis points doesn't matter, but they need this to start moving in the right direction. Too many of these banks took what I would call very high risk decision-making process. And, when rates were low, they bought very long. They went out 5-year, 10-year or more and filled up on, because that's the only place, when interest rates were at zero, that was the only place you could get any return. The problem was, the narrative was, well, interest rates are at near zero and they're going to stay there for a long time. Well, they didn't stay there for a long time. We had massive rate hikes, so that puts banks upside down. And as depositors want their money back, if they have to cash those in, it's at a loss. And it sets up a scenario where, sometimes these are self-fulfilling prophecies. If depositors come and want their money, it can start a run on the bank. And that's already happened. Remember, this summer we had a few of those. Things simmered down And, it seemed like there was growing consensus we were going to get rate cuts. And at one point, I'll go look now that we're in the middle of this vote. At one point, there was almost, pretty much complete consensus that we were going to get a rate cut in March. Well, that has changed dramatically. So this is the Fed watch tool. So this is what the futures have built in. This is now down to a 20.5% chance of a rate cut in the March meeting. If you go back just 1 month ago, I got to scroll up so you guys can see this, and it's very small, but I'll read you these numbers. This is the 1 month ago number. A 25 basis point rate cut was at about 70%, and a 50 basis point rate cut was at 9.4%. So that was 89% chance built in of a rate cut just 1 month ago. Now it's 1 month later, and that 89% has gone down to 20%. So to me, this is putting big pressure on the Fed and the Fed pretty much came out, we didn't talk a lot about this. The Fed pretty much came out and said, don't count on March. We're not there yet. And, we don't think enough data is going to come out between now and then to lower rates in March. So now this is why. So yesterday, you'll see this was down to a 38% chance. So there was a big drop yesterday, or as a result of, it wasn't yesterday, but when the Fed spoke, this dropped down to 38%. And now the jobs number comes out today, and all of a sudden, we added twice as many jobs as we thought we were going to add in January, and they revised the December number way up. So that was another couple 100,000 jobs. So the jobs work, it's kind of counterintuitive. Like adding jobs you would think would be a fantastic thing, and that's what we want. And if you're the one who got the job, it is what you want. But it also puts potential pressure on inflation, and it reduces the Fed's cover to start lowering interest rates. So those work counter each other. So now you see this have a big drop again down to 20%. So, people are starting to write off the potential. And if you look at our poll, do you think there's going to be a rate cut in March? So congratulations, you guys that voted. You guys nailed this. You're at 22% yes, 78% no. So that is right on line with the futures. So I think that's what the market is basically building in. We could get a data point between now and then, but it's just, and I will tell you, I was one of the people for a long time, I was targeting this March meeting. I thought January was out of the question, and, that got priced out a long time ago. But I thought there was a likely scenario we would get this in March. I still don't think it's off the table, especially if we do get, the couple of these banks that are having huge pressure. If we see a bank collapse, that's going to change this. This number is going to skyrocket because that's going to start to put pressure. The Fed is reactionary right now, and they said they're fluid. They're going to look at the data points as they come in, but that would tip the scales, in my opinion. Certainly not rooting for that, but it looks like there's some of those that are out there potentially. So the market's kind of shifted to May. So in the May meeting, you'll see we're at, and really we're at 73%. So between 25 basis points and 50 basis points. So that's less than we were for the March meeting. So, people have gotten very pessimistic. I will say it's my strong opinion, even if they push this off a little bit, I think we're going to get at least 1.25 to 1.5 basis point rate cuts in 2024. I think that for bigger picture reasons.
Do they meet every other month, Tom?
They meet periodically. So you'll see March 20th is the next one, May 1st, June 12th, July 31st, September 18th, November 7th, December 18th. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're only at we got 7 more, and we're only 1 month into the year. So I think we're going to, somewhere along the way, I think we're going to work ourselves to, about 1.5 basis point rate cut. That's my personal opinion.
So I have a question about the large caps S&P, Tom. Do you think that we're peaking or no?
That is, can I
Can we do
hold
that
off
as a
on my
poll?
answer because that was
We'll
my
do a poll.
next poll
Okay.
that I wanted to do.
Okay, go ahead and finish up voting because then I'm going to sneak in another poll.
And it seems like you guys are right on the money on that poll. So, nailed it.
I said yes, but it might be too early.
I definitely, I think it depends on the news cycle between now and then. We're a month and a half away from that, right? So,
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
see what happens.
Man, I mean, in the Bitcoin mining world, every day is 24/7 because of Bitcoin. So who knows?
Well, yeah, and we have been getting some very, very volatile price action in the Bitcoin miners. So that's one of the other things. I feel like I've been trying to do this in a big way. I am trying to zoom out right now because yesterday, for instance, I mean, Marathon fluctuated from, and I'm just picking Marathon, but they were all
Yeah.
pretty similar to this, way in the green. Then all of a sudden, an hour later, every way in the red, then way in the green again. I mean, if you were day trading, you could have probably made 4 or 5 trades on just Marathon yesterday, especially if you were using options. I mean, it's
Moth and yeah, it's awesome.
now I don't do that. So for me, if you do
I
that,
know.
then
How can you
congratulations.
not do it though? How can you not just take a little bit because you can see it and do it? I mean, you know,
It's I it's worth considering. I hear what you're saying, and let us know if you guys are out there. I know a lot of people are making swing trades on these. Are a lot of you guys day trading these? I mean, these have always been fantastic swing trade stocks, even though I don't really swing trade them for the most part. I'm more of a buy and hold. But now, I mean, they've gone beyond swing trades. These are day trade
well,
stocks.
hang on, let me tell you the number. I'm only down. Let's see, from my high. Of course, my fat fingers. Well, I'm down 20% from my high.
You're down.
But the way I've made most of it back is from day trading right now, by the way.
Yeah, because that's not bad. Because my portfolio peaked on December 27th when all the Bitcoin miners peaked. So I'm down from there, and I've built out some positions since then, and I will continue to dollar cost average in. I'm not doing it at the rate that I was doing it. I was so heavily averaged in over a year and a half period during the the crypto
But
winter
you
that I've had to
but
slow down.
you got your exit strategy, right?
I've got my exit strategy in place, and I'm nowhere near it
Does it
yet.
are you rethinking any of your exit strategies on any of these stocks right now, Tom?
I'm not at all. The only thing that I have thought about is what you talked about is and I'll never drill down to the day trade level. I'm not going to spend the time it takes to day trade these, but I would consider through options doing more. I was doing more of this swing trading options on some of these. While I built out my core positions, I was swing trading some options. I've gotten away from that lately, and I feel like I need to get back into that for the reasons that you talked about. It's just some money that you can potentially pick up along the way. And some of these, I never want to say they're easy. Some of these have, they've followed a pretty steady pattern. So I think there's some potential there. And so I may get back involved in that. But that'll never be the big piece of what I do. And the other piece that I don't know how much I've talked about this. The other thing that I continue to dollar cost average into, I am in and we should do a poll and see if anybody's in this or if they would consider going in this or not. I've built out a position in BitX, BITX. That is the Bitcoin it's not a spot ETF. It's the futures ETF, but BitO is the standard futures ETF. BitX is a 2x leverage Bitcoin ETF. And so, I've been building out a position in that as well. I'm very bullish on Bitcoin for 2024. I mean, that's my underlying, my underlying premise for all these investments
Does
is
that change at all?
has my opinion on that changed?
Yeah.
I have more conviction today than I did a month ago. So
Do you really?
if
that
it's
Bitcoin's going to the moon?
that Bitcoin that Bitcoin is going to have a very good 2024 and a very good 2025. And I think we can expect two things: to take out our all-time high and then, have some significantly higher high somewhere in 2025. That's my opinion. I think, I think we don't know. Right? This is not financial advice. Please, you guys, you got to formulate your own opinion. And more than ever, the volatility has been so unbelievable on these stocks that if you guys don't have your own very strong opinion on it, with assets that are this volatile, if you're not rock solid on this, they're gonna drive you out and take your money. That is what they do. And I mean, the swings on this can be vicious. So it is very easy to get afraid. But
did you hear what Marathon did to Hut?
that's one of the. I mean, I don't know if they did it to him.
They did it to him, man. They did him dirty.
I think Hut did okay on that. That's one of the press releases they put out. I'll go through that. But yes, they're and that was happening.
I know.
So
I just like seeing it. I thought Marathon would have some movement from that, but no.
I mean, they're the Goliath, if there is one. I mean, they're still they are the biggest market cap by far, and they're only a $4 billion market cap right now. So there is a massive amount of room to the upside for these stocks. And I am, Marathon's one of the ones that I'm still dollar cost averaging into, despite the fact that it's the largest market cap. I've talked about what I like about with Marathon. I like their balance sheet.
So, do you want me to for the poll? Are we at the top for the S&P, like Meta, Alphabet, Google?
I would say has big tech. Is this the peak for big tech? Was today the peak?
Oh, is it okay if I rate? Are we at the top for the S&P?
Sure. NASDAQ, I mean, the NASDAQ is where all these guys, all of them are in both, but they dominate the NASDAQ.
I don't know the abbreviations for NASDAQ.
EQ.
I'm just looking it up. A lot of letters.
A lot of letters. So quickly, while George is doing that, I just want to go through some of what happened today, and things were all over the place. We'll look at a couple of charts in specific. Out of the big, I'm calling these the big three. These are the three largest by market cap. Marathon is the largest by market cap. Marathon's the largest Bitcoin miner by almost every measure. So again, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're the best. A lot of you probably may think that. They usually come in first or second when we, go through a round robin tournament and see who everybody likes the best. Marathon was down 2% today. Riot was down 0.8%. Riot has underperformed Marathon over the last 75 days massively. So, but today it actually did a little better. CleanSpark was down 0.96%. So those kind of rallied the last half of the day to, get close to break even. Bitfarms was down 3%. Cypher, which is one of the larger by market cap, was down 6%. Iris Energy was up 1%, but Iris Energy I think that one's worth looking at. Here's Marathon, by the way. So you can see the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. We got a little grouping right here. Marathon's just been hanging out. It jumped up, and it's been going sideways and consolidating. I think this is healthy because all of this is still way off of its highs from, December 27th. And I do think these companies will make a run back to these highs sooner than later, in my opinion. Not every single one of them. So I will reiterate, I do think there's going to be winners and losers. I did go through 6. If you are a member, you'll know. And if you haven't seen it, I did go through my 6 for the members only. I don't really want to spread FUD about companies, but for the members only, I did go through my 6 companies that, for me personally, I had the lowest level of conviction in that, going into the halving. Marathon was not one of them, obviously. So I do think there'll be winners and losers. Marathon, in my opinion, is going to be one of the winners. I mean, and it's not.
Just so I've been putting the pressure on Bitcoin, 43,176. Just so you guys know, I got it turned around.
This is you, George. You're making it happen.
Making it happen.
So if we look like CleanSpark, if I go to the 1 hour, I don't even know if this will show. See, it doesn't. It's hard to tell, but so you can see this went up and then it went down, then it came back up. This is just today, and I mean these are they don't look like big swings, but if you're day trading and you're doing it on options, this is a lot of movement, and they're all like this. Marathon, same thing. Get back to the 1 day time frame. Oh, I wanted to get to Iris Energy. That was my point. Whoop.
It's crazy. 87% say no, we're not at the top for the S&P and NASDAQ right now. 53 votes. Please vote. It costs nothing to vote.
If you look at what Iris Energy did, for whatever reason, it was holding this $4 mark, and then it broke below while everything else was kind of going sideways. We just looked at Marathon have like 5-day stretch sideways. Iris Energy, took a big move from the peak on January 30th. These 3 days from the top to the bottom, this was down 20%. So for those of you wondering, we've talked about this in the members only. I said if we get one more dip, I will start. I previously did not hold a position in Iris Energy. So I did finally open a position in this. Not financial advice. Please do not do what I do. Everybody's portfolio is different. I'm very heavy into the Bitcoin miners, as I think everybody knows. So, invest wisely. You can see, I mean, look at this chart. This volatility. This stock is down. This is just over 1 month ago. 1 month and 1 week. Right? Even including this up day today, the stock's down 61% in just over a month.
61%.
Yeah, and to the bottom, it was almost 63%. So,
I have a question, Tom. Do you think they said that they're not going to be going for any more money right now, correct?
They only said they funded themselves to 10 exahash. So that doesn't mean they're not going for any more money. And they had a bounce on that, but now they've pulled all the way back and then some. So this remains a very volatile stock. I thought this was a good entry point for me personally, but I think there will. Jay, I just happened to see, he said, "Welcome to Iris." Thank you, Jay. So, I mean, I think, Iris has big growth plans. I think they're going to also be one of the winners. It's just the question is, the company's going to be a winner, but when is the right time to buy, and which, I already have different positions all over the place. So, and that's why everybody needs to.
Did you just get your toe wet on this?
Yeah, exactly. I'm starting, and if opportunity presents itself, and big picture, let's talk big picture for a minute, and then we can do a poll on this as well. How is this poll going? Are we at the top? So people think no. I'm going to give a shout out to a totally different YouTube channel, and who I should have listened to, but I'm just not. I shouldn't say I should have listened to them. I do my thing. Everybody does their own thing. A lot of you are probably familiar with Zip Trader, and I'm not endorsing what he does, Charlie over there. I've been watching him for years. You know, I watch YouTube just like everybody else. Um, and sometimes, you know, he's got a lot of hype, but he talked about the fact that maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago or more, a lot of times when these things break out and hit new all-time highs, the next move is usually up from there. And, you know, he showed historically that that is very consistently true. So here we're sitting, you know, however many weeks later, and that's exactly what has happened. These companies have taken, I mean, Meta was up 20% today. If you look at Meta, I'm not invested in this. Are any of you guys in these big tech? Whoops, not Meta. If I go to the 1 week on this, I mean, and look at this candle. This is a 1 week candle. That's just crazy. But what's more crazy or equally crazy, this was the week of October 2022. So okay, you know, this was about 15 months ago. But in 15 months, this stock's up 435%. This is a mega cap stock. They're not supposed to move up 435% in a year or a year and 3 months. This is unbelievable move. And, you know, this stock might have been somewhere down here when I was listening to that going, you know what? I know that's true. I see that it's true, but you know, I do not have any of the Magnificent Seven in my portfolio. I did talk, I don't know if it was on the live stream, the Friday live stream, or to the members. There was a price target I had for Tesla that if it got down to, I was going to start dollar cost averaging in. It did not get there. I don't know. It may still get there, but it seems like things are moving in the other direction. Tesla had a big pullback. I do think that a year or a year and a half from now, Tesla will be in a much higher place, in my opinion. And I am not a Tesla person. I've never owned Tesla, but I just try to look at what's going on. And, you know, they put out some numbers, and I did do a little deeper dive on them. And George, I don't know if you've been in and out of Tesla, but you've talked about it a lot.
Oh yeah, well, way back when, but not recently. I got too hooked on the miners, Bitcoin miners.
Yeah.
Let's see how my purchases are doing. Might have to get out. I can't seem to move Bitcoin too much right now.
Well, let's see. Where's our open? Oh, you're green. You were red in after hours. Now we're green. Green, or is that old? Yeah.
Come on, people.
Come on.
I don't even know if I'm going to sell any of these, actually, honestly.
Well, I mean,
I don't think so. So, Tom, have you done away with your thought process that there could be a dip in Bitcoin?
no. So thank you. That is just what I was just going to go through when I
Oh,
sidetracked
stop it.
myself. I sidetracked myself. Remember, I'm like, let's take a look at the big picture, and then I got lost. So this is the one day. I think there's still a very good chance that we have this purple line that we've been talking about, or I've been talking about forever here. This was resistance from November 15th through basically December 1st. That's not a long period of time, but it was very solid resistance. And the second we broke through this, we made a move to the upside and never pulled back. This was about the fourth move in a row to the upside that Bitcoin has made in the last 6 months without having, you know, that pullback and retest of a line of support. Now, I will say in the middle, if you want to look at it this way, from January 11th, we had a peak in Bitcoin over 49,000. So from there until January 23rd, Bitcoin moved down 21%. My only problem with that is if you go to the even if you drill all the way down to the 15-minute time frame, this run up to 49,000 was a blip, right? The daily candle closed at, let's see, 46,342. So, over $2,600 lower just on that daily candle. The 1 hour candle closed almost $2,000 below that. So, this was kind of a fluke. This was, whatever the opposite of, I don't have a word for it. Whatever the opposite of a flash crash is, this was a flash move to the upside for a few minutes. But it did happen. So, technically, if you want to go from that top, which only lasted for minutes, to the bottom a few weeks later, that was a 20% pullback. So, a 20% pullback is what I usually look for even inside of bull runs. Inside of a bear market, things can go even more. And if you look at the previous bull market, back in the previous cycle, we had a series of 30% pullbacks. So far in 2023, we had 3 20% pullbacks. I guess technically now in 2024, you could say we've had 20% pullback. But I still think there's a pretty reasonable chance we retest this 38,000-ish. And that's not me being bearish. That's just normal price action on Bitcoin, because really almost every single one of these days since, if you go back to, the beginning of December, so about 2 full months, we've been between this blue line at around 41,200 and this green line at around 44,200. So, that's a $3,000 trading range that we've been in for a few months. We never really, we had, I've showed this before. We kind of had, I'm calling it a fake out. This was the days in and around the approval of the spot ETF. So we had a little fake out to the upside. And then, on the other side, a week later, we had a little fake out to the downside. But we moved right back into this range. And now we're a full week back into just going absolutely sideways like we've been doing for months. So there's going to be a move at one point to, one way or the other. And if I look at the RSI on the 1-day time frame, it just feels like we're not breaking out of this descending line. So, we were extremely overbought on December 5th. We were up, extremely. We do get higher than this. In fact, I'll look. So, I have a line here at 89, which I know we've touched several times, but even as recently as October, we were up near 88. Here we got up more like 82, which is very overbought on the daily RSI. And since then, we never really got a full reset. It looked like we were moving down and we were going to reset and maybe reset ourselves and have a move to the upside. But instead, we keep just bumping into this line here, and this time intraday, we actually touched this line twice, but by the time the daily candle closed, we didn't even end up on this line. So it seems like we are hitting lower highs on the daily RSI. And, until we break out of that, I'm just not sure that in the immediate future, we're going to do this move to the upside. So I do think we could have a pullback first, but if we do, that is very short-term stuff. So that's the other thing. A while ago, I said I'm trying to zoom out. Even if we were to go do that, I still see in the relative short term, whether there's a pullback in the middle or not, I think we're going to hit 48,000 and then go up from there. So if we have to do a little bit of a reset in the middle, I will take that as, a continued opportunity to, opportunistically average into the stocks that, I'm looking to add positions to. There are certain stocks that I already have more than I thought I was going to have. So, and I'm okay because, I made that conscious decision. They were so low for so long that I felt like, I could continue to average into those and, have a multi-tiered exit strategy and allow myself to take some profits a little earlier. But there are other stocks that I don't consider myself as having a full position in yet. So if I get the opportunity, and I'm not rooting for it, I just think there's a reasonable chance it could happen. All of the, technicals, and this is just one thing of many, many things, but it all seems very ambiguous. And I'll tell you, and you guys may have experienced this, depending on what time of the day it is, just the gut feeling that you have, you feel like, oh, here we go to the downside. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're off to the races. And, the Bitcoin miners, even more so than Bitcoin, they've been having wild swings up and down. But even Bitcoin itself, it keeps feeling like we're going to do one thing or the other. But if you look at it, I mean, if I draw a line, like if I draw this line down the middle, almost every single day has hit this line somewhere during the day. And then that line is arbitrarily at around 42.7. So, I mean, when you have a period like this where, we keep crossing the same line over and over and over, we really haven't made a decisive move in either direction.
Question time.
Yes.
You know how everybody talks about like there's just not that many coins on the exchange. Has in the past week, 2 weeks, or since the ETF, has there been a lot more coins or just the ones from the GBTC?
There's really not been an increase, in coins on exchange. And net the amount, even including the exodus from the Grayscale trust, and I can bring that up, there's like somewhere around 135,000 coins as of, I think, yesterday, have left the Grayscale Bitcoin trust, which is now the Grayscale ETF. So, that's a massive move out, but net of that, there's still more Bitcoin that has moved into the ETFs, even counting that 130 or 140,000 that have left the Grayscale trust. So, I think we're starting to see, it depends on the day, but we're starting to see a deceleration in the amount that's leaving the trust. I don't think that trust is just going to go to zero. So, and the other ETFs are absorbing all of it and then some. And that's not even to get to, the retail investors. So the pressure on supply has not even yet begun, in my opinion, as far as these ETFs go. I think we're still at the 1% stage of what these Bitcoin ETFs are going to bring to Bitcoin. So
when should we really see that take hold?
My answer to that is I think it's going to be, I don't think you're going to see a 1 day or 1 week move that's directly tied to the Bitcoin ETFs. I think you're going to see sustained pressure, upward pressure on the demand for Bitcoin over the next several years because of these Bitcoin ETFs. I've seen a lot of people talk about a quick move to the upside at some point when things settle down with Grayscale. And, we're seeing a lot of these ETFs start to advertise and recruit money. And they're still, remember, they even, BlackRock just doesn't dictate what their clients do, and Fidelity, et cetera. They still have to have their customers go through a learning curve and, accept Bitcoin as a piece of their portfolio. So that learning curve we're at the beginning of. And, so I think this is just going to be continued pressure on Bitcoin, on the demand. And this is moving into a period where we know the halving is going to create more pressure because the amount that comes on, the new amount generated every day gets cut in half.
I got one for you. I told you I just purchased Bitcoin, right?
Yep.
What's Bitcoin at right now?
Bitcoin's at 42,987.
Look at what Coinbase sold it to me at.
Let me go over to
43,463.60. And when I was getting ready to trade it, they said it was only 43,005.
Well,
scumbags. And then they took a $30 fee from me too, or something like that.
Oh, so plus the fee.
Plus the fee, plus the VIG.
And
And people think the mafia's not dead.
I'm on the Trading View Coinbase chart. So,
Right.
but it moves around. I don't know.
Oh, it
And
moves
this is
around.
what,
Yeah.
you know, this is
They
why,
screw you.
but also this is why, to me, Bitcoin is not for day trading or swing trading. First of all, the fees are too big. This is the store of, the store of value argument for Bitcoin. And I think that,
I mean, I'm looking at Bitcoin. It says it's 43.18.
yeah, now it's up to 43.17, 43.21.
Yeah, so why in the world would they? This doesn't even make sense.
You're talking about your purchase?
Yeah, just my single purchase, because I'm trying to put the pressure on Bitcoin to move it up.
Oh, and you got, are you saying yours was 43,463?
Yes.
That's what they sold it to you for?
Yes.
Are you able to do a limit order?
I just bought it. Well, I was 43. I just figured it would be at what the displayed price is on Bitcoin.
Well, the question is on Coinbase, can you do a limit order? Because you might want to consider that, because it looks like they, got you for 400.
Limit oil. Fuck. I bet you. Mother, I'm going to try it again. I'm going to record it this time.
Well, can you put a limit order in? Go through and see in real time. Can we put a limit order in?
Okay.
Because that would be.
Let me show you what the scumbags of freaking Coinbase do.
The
this
opinions
just bothers
of
me.
George
You know what I mean?
necessarily represent the opinions of.
No, I'm just showing what happened. This is real life. This isn't like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, this is real time. I know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not screwing around.
This is where you have your Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, well. No. This is where I have some of it. Yeah. Oh, and do you think did you hear about the hack on the wallet of XRP?
I did. Yes.
Do you think that's newsworthy?
I mean, I think it all got resolved. I'm not sure if I saved that article or not. It was a small amount of money. I mean, I used the term small relatively. What was it, like $140 million or something?
I can't relax, man. They saw you coming. You guys are so mean to me. Hey, just remember, at least you got a punching bag. Market orders are crap. I just wouldn't think that there's a published price and they would get me for $5 extra $100.
Well, this is a teachable moment.
I hate those bastards. And I'm in Coinbase 1, and it's the new month, so I shouldn't be charged any fees. The first, like, $10,000 is supposed to be feeless.
Oh, that's right. You are in your... While we're at it, let's go through. There are 3 Bitcoin miners.
Also. You know what? And that's funny that you say that, Mr. Dale. They do charge you a spread. I don't know what the spread is. So, anyways, I did another poll.
See what Edmund said?
Yeah, I saw Edmund. Do you guys think Bitcoin can hit 50K before the halving? 66 yes, 34 no.
2/3, 1/3. We get a lot of those polls.
Wow.
I do. I think that Bitcoin can hit 50,000 by the halving. If you had said 48, I absolutely would have said yes. Like I said, I don't know. We may get a short-term move to the downside. Even if we do, I think before the halving, we will be back up and break out of this 48,000. And you can see a lot of times, and not always, nothing is, there are no rules that are foolproof, but a lot of times these quick moves are foreshadowing. And, so we did have this breakout, and yes, it was only for minutes, but I think, and the same is true to the downside. When, if you look at the flash crashes that we had prior to and during the crypto winter, every time we had a flash crash and a gigantic immediate recovery, ultimately we went down and took out that low on that flash crash. So the same thing I think is true to the upside. So I really am expecting a move beyond 48,000. I just think there's a reasonable chance we'll bounce off of 38 in the middle. And I know those sound like big swings, but you guys see some of these candles. Bitcoin can move a lot in a 1 or
Yeah,
2 day period.
but I'll tell you what. How many days left till the halving, Tom?
Well, that's a moving target. Let me
Oh,
show you.
has it gone back?
I'm going to bring this up. It might take a minute. Here's one of the things that happens, you know. Oh, so let's take a look. So I'm going to press refresh. On January 20th, we had the difficulty level for Bitcoin actually went down, and we haven't had too many moves to the downside. You can see this is a green list. Over the last year, the difficulty level is basically doubled. So we did have a move down, but I'm going to press refresh and show you the latest. So the latest move today, February 2nd, this was a 7% increase in the difficulty level. So we continue. I mean, if you go back a year, this is at 75 trillion. If you go back a year, we were at, well, if I go back to January 2nd, we were at 34. So that's 1 year and 1 month. So in the last 1 year and 1 month, this has much more than doubled. In the last, so you can see that's the same thing as a halving, right? So just the increase in the network difficulty level. And I will tell you, the next thing I want to look at is we've had 3 companies report. January was a tough month so far. So it will be interesting to see next week if this trend follows. Let me show you, and then we'll go. But I did a little summary, and then we'll take a look at the reports. So this was everybody's December production. Is that big enough to see? So there's 3 companies that have reported. Bitfarms always reports first. They're, first up on the first business day of the month. 357 Bitcoin in the month of January versus 446 in the month of December. They cited 2 things. Number one, December had the big fees. So, this is one of those things. These fees fluctuate drastically. And I know a lot of people were really starting to count on there's going to be a massive move in fees and it's going to be permanent. I do think the fees are, destined to go up over time. And just so that for those who don't know, every time you mine a block, you get a reward in newly minted Bitcoin, but you also get the fees, a portion of the fees that were charged for all the transactions on that block. So in the month of December, the fees skyrocketed. That happened 2 separate times in 2023. They've come way back down to earth. So that made January harder. But the more interesting thing, let me tell you the results, and then I'll tell you the thing that I think is even more interesting than that. So you have Bitfarms down 20% month over month, decrease in the amount that they've mined. Then you have Cypher reporting. They're down 20% month over month. So they did 465 in December, down 371. This is not accounted for by the reduction in fees. So there's another thing happening, and they all say what it is. And then you've got TeraWolf down not as much, but from 334 to 313, they're down 6%. So you've got, I didn't put it on here. You've got CleanSpark. This was, I'll double check. This was 577. Let me see if I have that open. I would. I just want to double check that. Don't want to use a wrong number, but I think that's what it was. So yeah, Bitcoin mined 577. So let's do the math on that. 20%. So Bitfarms, Cypher, and CleanSpark are all down 20% month over month. They all cited the same thing. All three of the, well, actually, two of the three cited that they had curtailment based on the weather. And what I find interesting is you've got Bitfarms. So that one made a lot of sense to me. Bitfarms has a lot of their mining in Canada. And obviously, January, February, March, those are the coldest months. And those historically have been when the Canadian miners have had to do some curtailment. So that made sense. But then you had Cypher. Most of what they do is in Texas. Cypher also cited the main reason for the reduction in their Bitcoin production was that that January was a cold month in Texas, and they had to do a lot of curtailment based on the weather in Texas. So you've got the weather in Canada causing curtailment in January. You've got the weather in Texas causing curtailment in January. And then the third miner, CleanSpark, they're in Georgia. They were down 20%. So you've got, those are the three of the big locations, Texas being by far the largest location. A lot of Bitcoin miners are in Texas. So Cypher was down 20%. So what's going to happen with Marathon? What's going to happen with Riot? They're all in Texas pretty much. So in every different location, and CleanSpark's in Georgia, Bitfarms is in Canada. So we're seeing a big trend here out of these that have reported so far. Down 20% is a big reduction. So I'm not sure. I don't know why CleanSpark, Georgia's that's your watch. You think they had to do a lot of curtailment? Was the weather brutal in Georgia?
I mean, it was cold. I mean, maybe, I just put up a poll before. There's a report that came out about the usage of energy. Are you going to talk about that, Tom?
I got that up. Yep.
Okay.
Well,
And here's my answer. It wasn't enough for that 20%. You know what I mean?
I got something a little bit different, but I will. Yes, I'll get to that
Okay.
next, since we're doing the poll on it.
But Tom, I'm in Florida, and the weather's been really nice down here.
I know. Unfortunately, Florida is the worst place on earth to have servers. We have, because of the storms that we get, it's a very unreliable place for servers and uptime. So I don't know that there'll ever be Bitcoin miners down here.
Oh my goodness, are you kidding me? Supposedly, wasn't Miami supposed to be the Mecca?
Yeah, they were going to be the Bitcoin center of the universe. So I'm not exactly sure how that's going for them. So far, the only thing I can see is that the conference left Miami and went elsewhere. So,
Oh, XRP. I don't know how did you ever even talk about my XRP problem?
what is your
Do you
XRP problem?
I was thinking about that. Do you think that caused a lag in the pricing of Bitcoin? That
The
people got a little spooked?
I mean, I don't think so. There's so much going on. There's so much news coming at us. I feel like that wouldn't have made the radar to move the
$110
needle.
million of XRP was stolen out of a wallet.
Yes. So, and I think they've got it resolved, and that is disturbing. But to me, I don't think it's a XRP problem. I think, you know, it wasn't like somebody hacked the XRP network. They stole money out
Right.
of a wallet, and 110 million. I think right now what's driving
I heard it
everything.
was 12 hours before they got them all back, by the way.
That's not bad. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, they haven't released anything really official yet.
I think what's driving this sideways action and volatility. This is volatility inside of a range, and I just think it's still all the mass confusion that was thrown at us in the months and months really years leading up to this ETF. Then we got the ETF. Then all of a sudden we learned, oh, by the way, there's going to be a mass exodus from Grayscale, and everybody's looking at what's the inflow today, what's the outflow today on the ETFs, and I think it's caused some short-term, I don't want to say panic, but if you look at the fear and greed index, we're back up to 63, but last week we got to 49 on the fear and greed index, and I think there was a day we got even lower than that, 48. Is that the lowest?
As
Looks
you're
like it.
doing that, Tom, this just in, Bitcoin 43 to 44, putting that pressure on it. Told
All
you guys,
right.
you're welcome.
So we got under 50 on the fear and greed index for a couple of days, and now you can see we're moving back up. Back in this 70 area is where we were running. There's a lot of room left to run, but they keep, and then remember we had Mount Gox. The market's going to get flooded with Mount Gox Bitcoin. Then the market's going to get flooded with Silk Road Bitcoin. Then there was one other one that was I can't even remember what it was, but it just seemed like there was report after report after report. But Bitcoin took every single one of those hits, including the relentless stream of, the Grayscale, is going to tank Bitcoin. And it took every single one of those blows, and we sit here in the same range. So, in my opinion, this has been very strong price action on Bitcoin, given everything that they've thrown at it under the sun here. So, I don't know if this is the exact thing you were talking about, George, but this was an article that came out yesterday. The U.S. is drilling down on crypto miners' energy use, and so this says draws the ire from the community. So, the U.S. Energy Information Administration is starting a provisional survey of electricity consumption data from cryptocurrency mining companies, drawing criticism from the community. Starting next week, the survey will require, quote, identified commercial miners, which would certainly clearly include all of the publicly traded Bitcoin miners, to respond with details related to their energy use. And goes on to talk about they really want to drill down. We will specifically focus on how the energy demand for cryptocurrency mining is evolving. So they kind of use some language like, it's not very invasive, but later, who's this? Somebody from Cathedra Bitcoin, I believe, said, when I read the press release and the filing, my initial thought was interesting. Maybe this will turn out to be net positive for the industry. Bent wrote, and that's from Marty Bent from Cathedra Bitcoin, but then went on to say, however, after digging deeper, he called the survey, quote, one of the more Orwellian things I've seen come out of this administration, as it requires very granular data, such as specific information about mining fleets, hash rate data. So I don't know what they're going to do with this. I have absolutely no fear that, the U.S. is going to regulate. I won't say regulate, going to, put any type of ban or tax on the Bitcoin miners. That's my opinion. Anything could happen, right? And reports like this, certainly this is yet another thing that would cause fear as it pertains to Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. Well, mostly to the Bitcoin miners in this instance. Giant here. Oh. There we go. All right. So we're having a positive stream, George. We've moved up. Bitcoin's moved up during the
Who knew
stream.
this would dude? I mean, you guys act like I didn't just put a big order in. Why do you think I was so upset?
Yeah, it's still not up to where you bought it, but it's moving up.
Hey,
Sorry.
I'm helping you guys.
We appreciate it. So Bitfarms didn't, they talked about they're on track for their 12 exahash, but you can see 446 Bitcoin mined in December, 357 in January, and then month-ending exahash was the same. So they're going to increase their exahash dramatically, but none of that has been implemented yet. But this is what I wanted to look at. Bitcoin average per exahash. It was 72 in December, and it is now 60 in January. And if I look, let me find this chart. So Bitfarms, December was a little bit of an anomaly. Marathon finished as the most efficient miner, just dividing the number of Bitcoin mined by the amount of exahash. That's the only month they've ever finished in first place. Again, I think it was a one-off anomaly. Bitfarms, High, Virus Energy, and then CleanSpark. These four I have in a different color because they were 1 through 4 the other 11 months of the year. Changing orders. Bitfarms, though, typically either in first or tied for first in every month except for this one. So my question is, if Bitfarms is down to 60, an efficiency of 60 Bitcoin mined per exahash, we saw Cypher took a big hit. We saw CleanSpark took a big hit. Is this going to be across the board? So that's what I'm going to be looking for. Somebody earlier, and I think they were only half joking, said we should do a poll. Is Riot going to mine more than 300 Bitcoin in the month of January? Just for perspective, Riot mined 619 Bitcoin in December. So they were, that was a good month for them. Still leaving them, if we go back to the efficiency chart, I mean, you can see even at that amount, they were still in last place out of the top 10 Bitcoin miners in efficiency. So it'll be interesting to see if they drop, if everyone else is dropping from 70 to 60, are they going to drop from 50 to 40? Can they maintain this 50? We're looking for Riot to move in the other direction, or I should say I specifically am looking for Riot to start to increase their efficiency level. They have lagged. They have always lagged the field. And to me, in 2024, if they don't start making a move towards getting, they don't have to run to first place, but you can see everybody else is getting very, very competitive inside of a range here. They got to get into that range, in my opinion, or explain to us why they're not in that range. And in the summer, in July, August, even September, they did a lot of self-curtailment and got gigantic energy credits. So, in those months, they were skewed. But when you look at October, November, December, those are, there's no extreme temperatures in Texas in those months. There's no necessity for, and their energy credits were next to zero. So this was a pretty true number. And you can see it was lower than the rest of the field. So I'm looking and waiting for them to catch up. I'm expecting they start to inch closer to these. And if they don't, that's going to be a concern for me. And then the other thing, let me go back to that same thing because we talked about this a little bit, but I wanted to show you guys because CleanSpark mined 557 Bitcoin. They added over 500 Bitcoin to their HODL position. So you'll see they were at 3,000. There's only 3 companies that have a significant HODL position. Marathon is, running away with this, over 15,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. HUT has been around 9,000 for a long time. They're holding these. They haven't had much of an opportunity. 2023 was not a good year as far as the amount of Bitcoin that they mined. They really didn't increase their HODL position, but they didn't dip into it. So they remain in second. Riot has been kind of steady in that 7,000 range in third. CleanSpark, like I said, if you weren't here earlier, CleanSpark was hovering around 500 Bitcoin on their balance sheet for about a year. They made a conscious effort to increase that. They're now, as of December, they were at 3,000. If I go to their press release, they're now at 3,573. So I think there's a very good chance CleanSpark could get, over 5,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. If they do that, then they're, in my mind, instead of there being a top 3, they will have moved into this group. Yes, they will be in 4th, but there will be 4 companies that have a significant amount of Bitcoin versus the rest of the field. The drop off, if they're at 5,000 or 5,500, and Hive's going to try to increase theirs, but maybe they'll get to 2,000. Even if they get to 2,500, that's half of where CleanSpark will be. So, they can put themselves, and CleanSpark wants to be in this league. In every other way, they mine a lot more Bitcoin than Riot and HOT, certainly, and their exahash is going to be growing a lot faster. They're going to be at 14 and a half. It was, they were supposed to get to 16. The rest of that, it looks like, is going to take a little while longer. And then 20, and then 32, and then 38. So, they're one of the companies that's looking to scale up ultimately to 50 exahash. And, Marathon's looking to do that. Riot's looking to do that. CleanSpark's talked about doing that. We've also had, they're not on the HODL list because they don't HODL, but we also have Iris Energy, which has talked about very big plans in increasing the amount of exahash that they have. So, those are the companies that have made big announcements. And there's others that have made announcements past that. Cypher has big growth plans. HOT has big growth plans, just not to the extent of the ones that we just mentioned. They're not targeting that 20, 30, 40, 50 range. But we'll see. More announcements to come.
Tom, did Core do anything today?
Core bounced back today. They were up 11.5%. Yesterday, they got wrecked. Today, they had a big bounce back, all of which leaves them just under $3 and leaves me still confused as to where that stock is going. So, I've said all along, I thought this was going to be a tough read coming out of Chapter 11. So it's a pretty complicated situation. So I have enough stocks that I have a super high level of conviction in. I've left that one alone. Having said that, I did mention earlier, I left it alone in 2023, and it was by far the number 1 performing Bitcoin mining stock in 2023. It was up 1,800%. So, if you caught even a part of that run, then Core Scientific was very good to you.
Just screwing around, I wrote down, will Riot mine over 300 coins in January as a poll?
Come on, guys. And it's a pretty close poll.
I know. Only 25 people are doing it, because they know.
If you could do us a favor and smash the like button if you have not yet smashed the like button. We're shooting for 500 likes. It helps the stream in real time.
You know what's funny? They're probably not going to mine over 300 coins in January.
I can't vote, but my vote would be yes.
I know, but the weather's been awful in Texas.
I hear you. Everybody's suffered about a 20% loss. That would be like a 60% reduction in the amount that they mined. If they can't mine 300, if that happens to them, I will be truly concerned. Unless
Tom, did you
they say they went and got $10 million of energy credits by curtailing. Yes.
Did you reach out to Jason?
No, I have not yet reached out to Jason.
Okay.
So we've talked about getting Jason on the channel, which I will do. I just have not reached out to him
yet. Okay.
He's got, let's wait for his.
I'm going to end this poll. 299. Yep.
The caveat would be if they got gigantic, if they got gigantic energy credits, then that would be a different story. But I don't think the weather was such that I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Next week we should get everybody else's report. Right? Next week, by the end of next week, will be February 9th. And we should have pretty much everybody's monthly operational report from the month of January by next Friday. And we'll be able to see what everybody else did. Is this an anomaly? I mean, the first four, and somebody earlier said that Wolf also was a function of the weather. So we're 4 for 4, all, mining less in January. But 3 of the 4 mined 20% less in January than they did in December. So that's a pretty significant trend. I want to see if this holds up. I know marathons seem to be having a lot of trouble. They could go down a lot more than 20%.
Wow.
They might still end up mining the most out of everybody. They're just so much more exahash than everybody else. But I wouldn't be surprised if marathon's down more than 20%. I have no idea what Core Scientific is doing. They might do better than everybody because they've been ramping up their exahash. We'll see. I don't know. We got to wait. We got to wait and see. But you can see Riot was at 619. I can't believe they're going to get cut in more than in half.
So they're going to be down at least 20%.
Riot? I
Yeah.
mean, everybody else is down 20%. I would think they're going to have a similar scenario. Maybe they'll surprise. Maybe this is the month Riot turns it around.
Ooh, we're still moving. 43,258. Come on.
Nice. So we're going to have another. This is another sign of a pending Bitcoin bull market. We're getting another soon to be publicly traded Bitcoin mining company. Celsius Bitcoin Mining Assets to restart as a new firm prepares to go public. So the new Ionic Digital expects to hit 12.7 exahash per second. Now, that's a little misleading because they do self-mining and hosting. So, they're talking about 12.7 exahash, but don't think they're going to all of a sudden jump into the top 3 Bitcoin miners. Let's see what they say. Ionic will acquire all Celsius assets. The assets include about 87 megawatts of self-mining capacity. So that puts things into perspective, right? They're most of this exahash is not going to be self-mining, but some of it will be. And this is going to be another company to go public in the Bitcoin. So we went a couple of years, 2.5 years without this. We had a slew of new Bitcoin mining companies, and I'll just go through the list because a lot of them are top 10 Bitcoin mining companies now, right? In the last bull market, TerraWolf was a new company. Iris Energy was a new company. BitDeer just went public, in 2023. Cypher. So, that's almost half of this list was new companies in the last bull market. So now we'll see what this bull market brings. But I think that's a positive sign. So George, let's get to your hot 8.
I'm putting that in, by the way.
Putting what in?
Nothing. You do you.
Hut 8 concluding, this is from your story early. Hut 8 concluding management services at Kearney, Nebraska and Granbury, Texas. They will receive a termination fee of $13.5 million. So, although they're ending these relationships, that money just goes straight to the bottom line. That's cash, so that's, good for cash flow, and it's 100% profit. Right? There's no cost associated with collecting a termination fee. So, this is the good news, bad news. And
this is not market cap, guys. This is stock price. Tom's getting nervous that he gave me control over doing the polls, just so you guys know.
And then the other, so Hut 8 announced, I told you they put out a few press releases. Again, I would like to see a little more clarification from them. But so this is one. The other one is Hut 8 proceeding with full mining operations.
All right, welcome to Talkin Investing.
Plan to provide management services to Ionic Digital. We just talked about Ionic Digital. Those are the ones taking over the Celsius network. And this deal, so this is a part of their, what are they calling this? Their managed services. Our managed services offering is distinct within the industry. So I'll tell you what the information that I'm looking for. They say, announced that it has signed a 4-year agreement with Ionic Digital to provide end-to-end management services across all of its Bitcoin mining operations. The agreement includes Ionic's 4 existing sites, which is designed to reach approximately 240 megawatts. Hut 8 will also continue to host approximately 8,500 Ionic Digital miners at Hut 8's Alpha site in Niagara Falls. Our management services offering is distinct within the industry. My question is, so they go on to say, under the agreement, Hut is expected to earn an aggregate of $81.5 million. That's over 4 years. There's an option for a 5th year, which would put this up to $101 million. So, that's $100 million in revenue over 5 years. But what I'm hoping to get some clarification on is, what's the gross profit on this, right? What's the cost associated with this $100 million in revenue? So we may really have to wait to see as this develops how this all works out. It's nice, multiple sources of top line revenue. Hut 8 is a little different than some of the other Bitcoin miners, but we want to see how much, what cash is this kicking off? What kind of gross profit is this kicking off, to pay for overhead going into the halving? Particularly going into the halving, these other streams of revenue could be a very good thing, but I want more clarification. Also, I want to welcome Karen Stock to the Talkin Investing Squad. Thank you very much for joining, Karen. I don't have the list right here, but just so that you know, as soon as you join, you have access to all of our members only videos, and we've done deep dives on a lot of the smaller market cap Bitcoin mining companies. So you'll have instant access to those, Karen. So welcome aboard. Hopefully you'll find some value. You can check those out. Also, every Tuesday after the market closes, we do a members only live stream, and we have a members only Discord. So welcome aboard. Hopefully we'll see you on the Tuesday live stream as well. And for those of you interested, our membership is only $5 a month. So you can join by hitting the join button on YouTube. We just go through YouTube. You don't have to join any third party anything. So it should be right next to the subscribe button. Again, it's $5. And there's a bunch of Bitcoin mining companies. Let me get the list. If you're interested in any of the following, for $5, I did a deep dive on Hive, on BitDigital, on Cypher, on Stronghold, on BitDeer, and also MicroStrategy, which is not a Bitcoin miner, but it is definitely a Bitcoin related stock. So for those who are interested, we appreciate your support. And for those of you who are not yet subscribed, we're shooting for 20,000 subscribers. So we've been at this for 3 years, right, George? And we're almost to 20,000. So also, if you are interested in Bitcoin, if you're interested in the Bitcoin miners, if you enjoy that content, consider subscribing to the channel.
Everybody's saying May.
May. Oh, let's see. I don't even know.
CleanSpark price will pass Riot in May as 44%. April 25%. I should have put it on one was never.
This is going to be an interesting thing. Those companies are set up very different. And they're two of my 3 biggest positions. I will say, I have a lot more out of my top 3 positions. And, again, please don't just do what I'm doing, and I know you guys don't, but my big 3 positions inside of the Bitcoin miners right now are Bitfarms, CleanSpark, and Riot. I am building out a position in Marathon. Again, not financial advice. That's what I'm doing. Um, of the four companies that I just mentioned, the biggest question marks that I have by far are on Riot. And I still think that company has a massive amount of potential. I have more questions for them. I don't I see Bitfarms executing. I see CleanSpark executing. I see Marathon executing. Riot, I still have some question marks. Having said that, if I did do I've done a deep dive, I think on all of those companies recently over the last, 2 or 3 weeks. So you can check those out on the channel if you haven't seen them. And I go through what I consider to be all the pros and cons and all the things that are important. But so there's a lot of things I love about Riot, but there's some big questions, which is why we've talked about getting Jason onto the channel if he's willing to do so. He has been on the channel before, so hopefully we can get him to come back and talk to us. It is hard, I will tell you guys. I always go into these interviews with semi-low expectations because these are publicly traded companies. They are all under the rules and guidelines of the SEC, so it's not like they can give us some massive breaking news stuff inside of our interviews, but, we like to get them on and ask the questions. And sometimes I'm surprised at some of the ones that they do give answers to. So I think it's worth doing. And it seems like people do like the interviews.
I don't I don't put Riot as number one anymore, Chris, just so you know. But if it does bypass everybody, they did it to us again.
Well, here's the thing. If you look at Riot, I mean, let me go to a different chart. I have this thing up. All right, so this is just the 1 week. This is not what I wanted to look at. So last week, Riot and Marathon did about the same thing. Riot was up 10%, Marathon was up 11%. But if I go back to all the Bitcoin miners hit a local high in 2023 in the middle of July, July 13th, which was the week ended July 14th. So, I've been keeping track from that date. That's this chart. So if you look at from July 14th until last Friday, so this is now 1 week old. This doesn't account for, and just so that everybody knows, you can also check this out. I update all these charts every weekend and put out a new video going through all of this and some other stuff. But through last Friday, you'll see Riot and Marathon have had different journeys. Marathon is 1% off of its highs from last summer. By the way, Bitcoin was up 39%, well past its highs from last summer. So every single Bitcoin miner is lagging Bitcoin in this period of time. Now, all the Bitcoin miners just had a giant pullback from December 27th for like the next 10 days after that. All the Bitcoin miners pulled back anywhere from 30 to 55 or 60%, depending on so there were several that had passed Bitcoin and they fell back behind. But my point is, Riot, which was the largest Bitcoin miner by market cap for the first 10 months of the year last year, Marathon passed them. And now you can see Marathon is just 1% off of its high from last summer. And you got to go all the way down here. Riot is 41% off of its high from last summer. So they have taken dramatically different paths. One of my points is, and time will tell, and we will see. If we see, I think that Riot, the problems that I think Riot has, I think are fixable. The question is, are they going to fix them? And if so, how long is it going to take? They need to get better operationally, in my opinion. So, that's, in other words, like having $500 million in debt, that's not necessarily a fixable problem. It just as an example. But, not yet being as efficient. We've seen other Bitcoin miners, Marathon being one of them, that's gotten a lot more efficient. They've gone through a learning curve and they've gotten a lot better at what they do in the last 12 to 15 months, in my opinion. Riot, it seems like they haven't quite, gotten past that yet. But if they do, there's a lot of lost room to make up here because, they're 40% behind what Marathon has done in this same period of time. So if they can start to execute, that's one of my thought processes, that they're extremely strong from a financial standpoint. They have zero debt. They have almost $1 billion in liquidity. So, there's good things about this company. But on the flip side, we just sat here and asked ourselves, are they going to mine 300 Bitcoin in January? So, that's just goes to show the lack of confidence. Rightfully so. I mean, they have not yet started to execute the way that they should execute, in my opinion. But that could allow for some upside if they do, start to perform as they should. And if you go Meta, just to look at Riot, this is on the 1 week, and this will get me back where we're going. So in November of 2021, Riot was at $46. So, that would be from where they are right now. If they can get back to their high from the previous bull run, that's over a 300% move to the upside. But that wasn't even their high for the year. Back in February, they were at almost $80, February of 2021. So, that's a 600% move to the upside if they get back to that number. Now, who knows? Are they going to get back to that number? We don't know. Are they even going to get back to this number? They've got to start doing what they're supposed to do. But I'll tell you this, they're many, many multiples larger as a company than they were back then. So, I think we've talked about this. I think there's a legitimate chance for a lot of these companies to get past their all-time high from the previous bull market. That's my expectation. The Bitcoin miners that I'm invested in, part of my investment thesis is that they're going to take out their highs from, the previous peak of the previous bull market. But also, I believe that Bitcoin's going to take out its highs considerably. So, if that doesn't happen, if the network difficulty spirals out of control, if, we don't know what's going to happen, but, just to let you guys know, that's my thought process. And that's why I started out by saying I am still very bullish on Bitcoin in 2024 and in 2025. Well, the interesting thing is, I guess we didn't give them another option, but everybody that voted, 85 people have voted, think that CleanSpark is going to pass Riot in
What do you think, Tom? No, not market cap, stock price. I didn't say that.
Oh, stock price.
Yes.
I mean, CleanSpark was at $13 a month ago. So
I know. That's why it's a good question.
Right. But Riot was at 18 and change. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough call. No. I would say I don't think they will in this time frame.
You don't.
And I'm super bullish on CleanSpark. So
there you have it, people.
Let's put it this way. I think CleanSpark's going to make a run back to that $13 price range it was trading in. And I mean, let's go look at that because I don't want to be on the 1 week. I'm going to get into that or that. Here, we happen to be on CleanSpark. Right. I mean, CleanSpark got to $13.56 on December 27th. So I think that's a super legitimate price target in the next, depending on what Bitcoin does, is at 30, 60, 90 days, whatever it is. Those are all short term in my mind. So that's a 65% move to the upside. So I think that's entirely possible. But in that time, what's Riot going to do? Because Riot was at $18.75. So even if Riot only moves up at half the rate that CleanSpark moves up, in other words, if CleanSpark does twice as good as Riot does from a stock price standpoint, they still won't pass Riot. Now, if Riot lingers down here and they don't move, then obviously they will pass them. Also, you know what? If CleanSpark runs up to 16, 17, 18 bucks, nobody will be happier than me. Probably a lot of you will be just as happy as I am. But
Yeah, that's a good one. Somebody just LCBTC. What are your thoughts of HUT, Tom?
I mean, my thoughts on HUT, I went through these two press releases, and I'll reiterate it. My thoughts are I want more information. I need more information from them. They're starting to put out some press releases. They're telling us some stuff that's going on, but it's still not allowing me to understand the big picture on what's HUT's plan for this halving. All of the stuff that we're getting information on is surrounding their managed services. It's talking a lot about some other, fiat revenue streams that are coming in, all of which I think is good stuff because, right, you got to pay the bills. You got to be cash flow positive. So I like all that. But what I don't know about HUT is what's their Bitcoin mining plan? They're up to here. We'll go look at what they did. So they had a gigantic leap once they made this merger. They were mining in the low 100s, like 110 Bitcoin a month. So you can see they jumped up to 453 in December. We'll see what January brings. It seems like January was a tough month for everybody. So they jumped up to 453 Bitcoin mined. Their exahash, they jumped up to 7.2 exahash. So all that's good, but that was their 2023 stuff. What's their plan for 2024? Because so far, we do not have an answer to that question. And a lot of their peers have talked about getting to 10 exahash, 12 exahash, 17, 20, 30, beyond. So, what's HUT's plan? They don't necessarily have to come out and say we're getting to 20 exahash, but I do think they need to come out and say, here's what our plan is for 2024 from a Bitcoin mining standpoint, right? They just acquired a massive amount of infrastructure, and it seems like they should have the capacity to really ramp up their Bitcoin mining. But we have no announcement from them yet. So to some extent, I feel like we're in a holding pattern.
Sue is all talk, no action.
I mean, Sue can only and this is exactly why I asked if we could just talk to Sue, in a month or whenever they give us some guidance. Because she can only talk about what, they're a publicly traded company. So they've got to present their plan to the world. They can't present it to Talkin investing, in real time. So we need them to come out and give some clarification, and then hopefully we can have Sue on and she can elaborate around the new information that we're getting. But in the time being, it feels like there's nothing to talk about. So we will have Sue back on the channel when and if there's some information. And Crypto Fever's asking, aren't HUT's machines outdated? So a lot of these companies have machines. I think the answer to that is probably yes. But, it's no different than, Bitfarms and Hive. Hive through a series of small purchases and Bitfarms through one monster press release basically came out and they've purchased machines to swap out the vast majority of their fleets. So, the older Bitcoin mining companies that had, Marathon doesn't have to do that. They didn't have any Bitcoin mining machines. So they don't have an old fleet to swap out. They weren't doing anything. So almost all their machines are already the XPs. Now, the XPs are a generation older than For instance, Bitfarms is going to have all 21s. They're doing the T21s, and some of the others are doing the S21s, and those are even more efficient. So one of the things I think is noteworthy while we're talking about that, I want to go back to CleanSpark's press release because they did say another important thing. Right now, even prior to all of their new machines coming online, they said their month-end fleet efficiency was 26.4 joules per terahash. This is before they add, 4.6 and then 6 and then, they're going to triple their exahash, all of which is going to be with machines that are even more efficient than this. So to see that they're already down at 26.4 joules per terahash, to me is very encouraging. So, just because I don't think CleanSpark's stock is going to pass RIOT's in price doesn't mean I'm not very bullish on CleanSpark. This is one of the companies that I personally have probably the highest level of conviction on. So, and they continue, in my opinion, they continue to do what they say they're going to do. And that is critical. So they've had a phenomenal growth plan. Their execution is everything, in, whatever industry you're in, but particularly in the Bitcoin mining industry, and particularly before the halving, they've done all the things they said they were going to do. I think Bitfarms has done that as well. I think Marathon, made leaps and bounds. So there's a lot of companies that are executing. There's some others we're still waiting for. And then there's others still that I don't, I don't think are ever going to get there, in my opinion. I'll tell you one company that remains frustrating to me, and maybe they're going to make their money another way. Bit Digital is a company that they keep talking about growth, but they've made a big move, allocated a lot of resources to this high performance computing. They bought, I can't remember what the number was, but they spent I don't know if it was hundreds of millions. It was a significant amount of money. I think it was 43 million or something on the latest NVIDIA, the H100s or H200s. So and they already have a customer lined up to utilize 100% capacity on everything that they bought. So I don't know, are they shifting away from Bitcoin mining? At the same token, they came out with a generic press release that said, hey, we're going to double our Bitcoin mining in 2024. We're going to double our exahash to 6. But no plan, no, this is how we're going to do it. So, and then I'm going to go look, I want to show you their latest press release because. So they just put this out 2 days ago. Bit Digital announces expansion of mining fleet. So you guys have seen the other press releases that come out. They're pleased to announce that they've finalized an agreement for 6 megawatts. That is underwhelming, to say the least, right? We see people 50 megawatts, 100 megawatts. We're building a 700 megawatt plant, a gigawatt. So, this is the 5th or 6th time they've come out with 4. We found 4 megawatts here. We found 6 megawatts there. How come everybody else on Earth can plug in, tens of thousands of machines, and these guys are walking 5-6 megawatts at a time? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. They reiterate that they plan in here. They say, so this is 260 petahash, 0.26 exahash. And they reiterate they plan to get to 6 exahash. I just don't see how they're going to get there. Maybe there's a big announcement coming. Time will tell, I guess. But so far, these aren't even small announcements, in my opinion. I view this as a tiny announcement. So I'd like to see something more from Bit Digital. This is another one where it's not enough to say, our goal here. This is an important step towards achieving our goal of doubling our active mining fleet to approximately 6 exahash during 2024. So they're saying, but how? That would be my question. And they have, there's some good things about Bit Digital. They have a good balance sheet. Like I said, they're lining up some other streams of revenue that almost look to me like I think they may have more high performance computing revenue in 2024 than Bitcoin mining revenue. So we'll see what happens. Crypto Fever said that the knock knock, the halving's 2 months away. WTF are they possibly waiting for? I mean, that's right. Darren is saying, Tom, I'll lay a personal wager. Name your amount. CleanSpark stock price passes Riot's share price for at least 3 consecutive days this year. I mean, between now and December 31st, I feel like, I definitely would not take that bet. I feel like that's a toss up. That could very well happen. Also, I don't want to bet against myself because, CleanSpark's my biggest position, so I'll be thrilled if that happens. I think the way that happens is if Riot continues to underperform operationally. And, I think to Darren's point, so far they haven't given us any reason to believe anything otherwise. So I guess we'll believe it when we see it. That certainly would not surprise me. Just worth noting, this is the latest and greatest report. There is still $6 trillion in money markets. This is as of February 1st. $6 trillion sitting in money market funds. So when does this money, that's money that I consider on the sidelines. Now, they just pushed out. They're not lowering rates, or they're indicating they don't think they're going to lower rates in March. The sooner they start lowering rates, or the sooner we get back to the expectation that rate cuts are imminent, some of this money is going to start to come off the sideline. Whether that's 2 months from now, 5 months from now, I remain extremely confident we are going to get a series of rate cuts in 2024. So I don't know when this money's coming off the sidelines, but for there to be $6 trillion in money market funds is amazing to me, and don't get me wrong. It's not going to go from 6 trillion to zero, but if a couple of $1 trillion comes out of here, this is just another pool. And it's not like also, all this isn't going to go from money markets to Bitcoin either. It's going to go all over the place, but there's a lot of money on the sidelines everywhere you look. There's a lot of pools of money that haven't even begun to invest in Bitcoin. So I just think that for whatever, I'll go back to the 1-day time frame. For whatever, we're consolidating here sideways, I think if you look at from a macro standpoint, all the longer term things are upward pressure on the demand for Bitcoin, while we sit, just a couple of months away from the reward getting cut in half. So instead of having 900 new Bitcoin every single day, we're going to have 450 new Bitcoin every day. So all bullish to me.
Bullish. All we do is win. Hey, at least everybody learned, because of my stupidity today, not to buy Bitcoin like I bought it on Coinbase.
So for those of you who weren't here, it was just a market price. There was not a limit order. It was a market order. And George got a little bit burned. I mean, a month from now, you're not going to care. But today, every dollar counts. George's guard dog sounds huge.
I'm not going to care. Maybe 4 months from now, I'm not going to care. Or 6 months. But a month from now could still be ugly.
It could. You're right. It could be. It's trying to predict the next day, week, month. It's getting harder and harder and harder.
What time tomorrow? Hey, do you guys want to go in the general chat tomorrow?
The general chat?
Yeah, they don't know what I'm talking about. We do.
I stay clear of the general chat.
I know you do. Members chat then. Do you got another poll before we go? I'm gonna end that poll.
I feel like, unless
that was actually a good poll, because I mean, not market cap. I'm just talking straight up price, stock price.
well, I think both are on the table. I think there's a chance that CleanSpark could pass Marathon, or sorry, not Marathon. I think there's a chance they could pass Riot in market cap.
Really?
So I'm not predicting that. I'm just saying, especially since they're going to get their growth plans are going to happen before Riot's growth plans. So it's a double whammy. They're going to have a lot more exahash at work, and they're getting a lot more Bitcoin out of each exahash. So, there could be a 3 to 6 month window where, from a production standpoint, CleanSpark is just blowing the doors off of Riot. So might they have a big run in the middle and pass them? That is possible. Any parting thoughts, George?
No. Except be nice out there.
My
parting thought is this: if we're not at the top, don't you think we got to be close?
In the
I
market?
mean, if we're not, at the market, don't you think, or do you think we can go up another 20%?
I think the market could run. I really do. I'm not saying that it should run. I'm not saying that any of these valuations make any sense at all. But
So, like,
when the
how
market
much more?
runs, it runs. You just said it. I think we could do another 20%.
Wow, that's incredible.
And I won't participate. I will not participate in that part of the market because I just don't have the conviction, in these PE ratios. And I know these companies are minting. Well, just very quickly. This is Meta. For the quarter, their income from operations was 16. This is their income, not revenue. $16 billion for the quarter. So, and then Amazon, $13 billion operating income for the quarter. So I understand these companies are minting money. I think it was Meta that announced a gigantic share buyback, a dividend. I think they're going to do a dividend now. I mean, they could keep running. To me, though, I don't know. It's too close to the top, even if they keep running. Having said that, I said that about NVIDIA. Remember, we talked about NVIDIA at around 490 and said, man, there could still be a huge amount of upside left. And now look, it's only a month and a half later, and they're at 660. So, I mean, right, they're up $170 a share since we talked about it. And I didn't move. So if I didn't move in at 490, I'm not moving in at 660. And I understand this could run to 1,000. Because if you think those two companies are minting money, these guys are unbelievable. This is showing the trailing 12-month PE ratio, but their forward PE ratio is not even crazy. So I do think there's more room to the upside for the market. It's not necessarily rational in some instances.
All right, I'm going to sneak out. I'll see you guys.
All right, George, have a good night. Have a good weekend.
You too.
And
thanks for everybody. And whoever's a member, tomorrow at noon Eastern time.
I'm going to wrap it up.
Discord.
All right. Fantastic. So thank you, George. And I'm going to wrap it up as well. Thanks, everybody, for sharing a part of your, well, for what us is Friday evening, depending on where you are in the world. For the members, of course, George is going to do that on Saturday. We have our members only live stream every Tuesday after the market closes. For everybody else, we're here every Friday after the market closes. And of course, I will have my Bitcoin miner weekly update come out over the weekend, so you guys can look for that. Thank you guys. Thanks everybody for all your support. I know right now it's been a pretty tough. It's been pretty hard on people invested in the Bitcoin miners with just the uncertainty and the volatility for the last, better part of a month, but hopefully things will settle down. So everybody, thanks again. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you next week.